All right, so all of this lending stuff can create confusion. So the government, in their infinite wisdom, we're from the government, we're here to help, right? Has tried to come up with many different types of legislation. One of the ones I want to talk about now is called the Truth in Lending Act. The Truth in Lending Act. You will hear it called TILA, T-I-L-A. It is Regulation Z of the Dodd-Frank Act that deals with all of the terms of a mortgage. Let me give you an example. Matthew, I got a house I'll sell to you for $100 a payment. Good deal, right? $100, that's not bad. Oh, wait, I forgot to tell you that those payments are hourly. All right? Did I mislead you? Oh, I'm sorry. How about no money down? Miguel, I'll give it to you, no money down. How about that? But I'm going to add 25% to the price because there's no money down. Oh, wait, did I mislead you? That's what was going on. So the truth in lending, and the easy to remember, TILA stands for terms, that dealt with all of the terms of the loan. They must be disclosed to the buyer or the person accepting the credit so that they know all of the terms of the credit transaction. First thing you need to understand is, well, it affected creditors. Well, who's a creditor? A creditor is somebody that extends credits to the consumer more than 25 times a year. Or, big or more than 5 times if that credit is secured by the first lien position in residential mortgage. That's how the mortgage brokers got sucked into this. Typically, this was designed for those door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesmen and encyclopedia salesmen that come and lied to you and got you because they were a creditor. They sucked in the mortgage brokers by saying, or 5 times a year, if that credit is secured by first lien residential property. You are what the government calls a creditor. If you are a creditor, you fall under these rules. One of these rules is called the 3-day right of rescission rule. The 3-day right of rescission rule is basically what we call buyer's remorse. Buyer's remorse. If a guy comes to your door and he's selling you washer and dryer or vacuum cleaner and you decide to buy it, you can actually undo or rescind that purchase for up to 3 days. Now, I know what you're thinking because you just said, well, wait a minute. That brings mortgage brokers in it. Residential first lien purchases are exempt from the 3-day right of rescission rule. When you buy a house, there is no buyer's remorse. Well, there may be, but there's no answer for it. All right? So there is no 3-day right of rescission rule for the purchase of a first lien residential property. There is on a refinance. If anybody's ever refinanced your home and tried to take money out, when you close, you have to wait 3 days before the title company cuts your check. Because during that 3 days, you have the right to change your mind, and if they've already given you the money, how do they get it? So they just wait 3 days and go, okay, come back in 3 days, sign this thing that says that you've decided that you still want to go through with it, then they'll give you the money. So a 3-day right of rescission rule doesn't count on the purchase of first lien residential property. It does on the refinance of first lien residential property. Why? I don't know. Paula, any answers? Why that? Owning a mortgage company, we have it all the time when we refinance clients. We just had one 2 weeks ago where they had to wait 3 days, so do we. But I guess I don't understand why a refinance is subject to the 3-day, but the purchase is not. Seems like they should be the same to me.
I would think like if it's a refinance, especially on a refinance, if someone like owns their house free and clear, getting themselves into like another 30-year mortgage, it's like they already spent 30.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Okay, I could see that.
There's pros and cons.
Yeah.
It's just like,
She said that if they were free and clear and they got themselves into a 30-year mortgage to get money out, maybe they would have buyer's remorse and decide they don't want to do it. Yeah. Just be an adult. Bad. You made the decision, pulled the trigger. Now deal with it, chump. No.
I see this thing on 4 installments on the creditor. Is that why all the
Buy now, pay here.
well, all the 3-day, 3 easy payments for all, your buy on TV.
Yeah.
It's 3 easy payments, so it's not forced. They don't have to do credit.
Yeah, they don't become a creditor. People ask me if I would take payments on this course, and I often get that question, and one of the things to tell them is I can't do that. Because if I do it more than 25 times, then I become a creditor, and the paperwork is like an inch thick. We looked into doing it. It becomes like an inch thick.
4 times? Or do you,
It's like 25 times more than
25 times at all?
25 times or 4 payments. I guess we could do 2 payments.
3.
Yeah. So what they're really worried about are these things that are called trigger terms. The trigger terms come in what they call Reg Z or the advertising. And that goes back to what I just said a minute ago. I'll sell you my rental for $100 payments. Sounds good. Oops, those $100 payments are daily. So what Regulation Z says, if you are going to advertise and you mention any of the trigger terms, you have to tell them all. Down payment amount, monthly payment, finance charge, interest rate, total amount financed. If you mention any of those, I then have to tell you all of them so that you know the full story. Now, I can avoid by any of them by saying, I'll sell you my house on easy payments. That's not a violation. But if I said, I'll sell you my house with no money down or 0 money down, oops, I mentioned the trigger term. Now I got to tell you financing. And you guys have heard this before on all those car commercials at the very end. Chrysler credit, 0 down. Not all people apply make it credit subject to financing ability of 27 months at 336. Yeah, it doesn't say how fast they have to say it. They just have to say it. So, and that's what they're doing. They're giving you, it's 0 down payment on your new Chrysler car, subject to financing. Not all who apply may receive. Finance 24 months for $360 dollar payments over 27% interest. You've got to mention them all. That's what that commercial is doing. Cash price, required down payment, number of payments, APR, total number of payments. You do that, you got to say all of them. But you could say, hey, sell my house, I'll sell it to you. Easy terms. I didn't mention any of those. I could say easy terms. All right? Great deals on my property, buy today. It's not a violation. Great deal on my properties with 0 down. Oh, that may be a problem. If you are caught doing this, the penalties can be horrendous. Minimum charge $400, maximum $4,000 plus court costs. The one that I love is alleged understanding of the APR. The creditor liable for punitive damages was the lesser of $500,000 or 1% of the creditor's value. What's the value of Chrysler? 1% of the value of Chrysler. Plus 1 year imprisonment, or both. Or both. So you can get actual damages, you can get punitive damages, you can get court costs and legal fees if you think you have been a victim of Regulation Z where they didn't advertise to you correctly. When you extend credit, there is also a protection called the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Now, the Equal Credit Opportunity Act has 8 protected classes. You ready? race, color, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, age, and dependence on public assistance. And by the way, under federal law, sex means gender. Does not mean preference, does not mean, what's the other one? Orientation. Somebody said New York had like 42 sexual categories. You know what someone's not tried yet? Speaking of identification, I'm surprised no one's tried this. Okay, I want to identify as a 63-year-old. I want my social security now.
I actually just saw something on Twitter about some guy who's like 68 and he identifies as a 45-year-old.
I saw someone where a guy was 45 identifying as a 2-year-old because he was wearing diapers and all that. But let's go the other way. I'm 55. I want to identify as 65 now. And my Medicare. How are you going to tell me no? Because that's the problem. You started down this slippery slope. At what level are you going to drop? How come a 19-year-old can't say, I identify as a 20-year-old, I want to drink? Yeah. I identify as a young teenage girl. I want to go in the locker room. It's really hard finding size 13 pumps too for my dress. Yeah, why can't I identify as a girl then? I want to go to the girls' bathroom. Seat's already warm. That's wrong. Don't laugh at that. That's what the whole thing in Target was. Now, the other side of that coin is a father with daughters. Daughter, I don't want you identifying going in with my 10-year-old daughter. You might as well call the police now. So, yeah, I don't know. I identify as 65. I want my Medicare. You better know those 8. Race, color, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, age, and dependence on public assistance. You're going to see when we get into fair housing, there's 7 protected classes, but it's not these 7. It's not these 8. It's different ones. Okay? Now, there's this last act, 7 more minutes and we're out of here, called the Community Reinvestment Act of 1977, which says there are some banks that want special treatment. They're smaller. Maybe they're held to less stringent qualifications. They don't have as much deposits. They're a community bank. To get this community bank okay, they have to and are required to loan out money in their community so that they can keep the money in their neighborhood. Huntington Bank is a community bank. Salem Bank. So what I'm telling you is you got a lender, or I'm sorry, misspoke. You got a buyer that maybe has a hard time getting a loan. Go to the local CRA bank and say, hey, look, my guy's moving in the neighborhood. He's going to get a paycheck every month. He'll put it in your bank, but we need a loan. Can I do that on eminent domain properties? Well, eminent domain's by the government. So you wouldn't be purchasing it.
Not me as an individual. Well, my church is trying to buy property that's eminent domain.
You're mixing words that don't go together. You cannot buy property through eminent domain. Eminent domain is the right of the government to take property. If it's a public individual or private individual, it would be through adverse possession. And then you don't buy anyway. You just take it based on usage.
So if the city takes property.
If the city takes it through eminent domain, they can't sell it because they're supposed to be using it for the good of the public. If they take property and then sell it, there's a big problem. Somebody's getting a lawsuit because all they're doing is trying to steal property and make a profit. If the government takes it through eminent domain, it's supposed to be used for the betterment of the government, like a road, a school, a library, something like that. All right? Now, if that property didn't pay their taxes and the state took it through the tax lien, yeah, now they can sell it back out. All right? But they can't take it through eminent domain, and you certainly don't, you as a church wouldn't buy through eminent domain because you don't buy. Those words don't go together. So the CRA bank does allow a person to loan money inside of that, all right? Respa, real estate settlement procedure, is a whole separate section. We're going to do a whole section probably tomorrow on Respa in the next audio, so we don't have to really need to cover it today. It's once again, it has to do with the truth in lending. It has to do with abusive lending practices and how we controlled that so lenders couldn't tell a buyer one thing and show up at the closing table and say, too late, we decided to charge you this instead. So we'll talk about that whole section. So it wasn't quite 7 minutes, but that is that entire chapter. So the last 2 chapters have been a lot of financing information. I guarantee there's a lot of stuff on there. All right? Any questions about this chapter? Going, gone.